Hello everyone, welcome if this is your first time here, and welcome back if you are returning to the channel. My name is Pirate and I occasionally make motorcycle related content and put it up on YouTube. Also just happen to be a disabled veteran for anyone that cares, and it kind of wish I'd started writing years ago. I think it took me getting hurt to really kick me in the ass, as they say, to start this. The whole reason I even took the writer's course that Harley offers was to see if I'd even feel comfortable being on a motorcycle. But I did, enjoyed it, bought my first bike, and now here I am, almost 5 years later. The more I live out here and get re-familiar with this area, the less and less I see the appeal of living in a big city, aside from the convenience factor of having pretty much anything you'd want to do relatively close to you. As far as big city living, I've lived in a couple of bigger cities. Nothing on the scale of like New York or Los Angeles, but I've lived in Norfolk, Virginia, so you have the Hampton Roads area, which is interesting because it's, well, dates back to the beginning of this country when we were still colonies. But you've got a bunch of cities that have all grown together, so like it could be like that side of the road is Norfolk and that side is Virginia Beach. But that's just how big they've gotten and grown together. So I've lived there, I've lived in Denver, and I've also lived in Albuquerque, although Albuquerque isn't really a big city, but it's still a good sized city. But then I moved back here, and hell, I think Owensboro, the city that we're currently riding through, has something along the lines of like 100,000 people. But where I live at in Calhoun, it's like the last population estimates that I can find were about 800 to 1,000 people living in that city. But it's more peaceful to me. You don't get all the noise and the problems that you do in the larger cities out there. I mean, one downfall of living where I live at is, depending on where I'm wanting to go, let's say in Owensboro, it's a 20 to 30 minute trip just to get here. But I think I would, at least myself, much rather take that 20-30 minute drive just to have the quietness and almost serenity of having that more peaceful small city country lifestyle. And you get to see so much more of nature out there. My experience in the bigger cities, while yes, they do typically have parks and some nature spaces, it's not nearly as much. You get to see much more of the concrete jungle. But then again, I also don't understand why there are people who are literally born, raised, work, and die in the same city. With the exception of taking a holiday maybe a couple of times, they never really leave their area. And for areas like this where Owensboro is a small city, you have Evansville, which is just across the river about an hour away. Literally, you drive about an hour across the river and that's Evansville. I don't really consider that leaving because you're still in the same area. You still get the exact same news stations, radio stations. Hell, I believe most of the TV and radio stations are based out of Evansville. But yeah, I mean, you get to the bigger cities and it's so easy for people to never really leave. They miss out on so much more that's out there. Of course, I also know people that have never really left this area. And as I said before, it's not that big of an area. I understand family can keep you tied down, but you still have to be able to venture out on your own and kind of experience things. And I do apologize if my voice sounds a little off from my other videos. I woke up this morning and for some reason my nose decided it wanted to leak like a damn faucet, so got a little bit of the sniffles. And I know I was lucky to be raised in a military family, specifically the Navy, so got to do a little bit of traveling as a child. Not as bad as some people, where it's like every 3 years they're moving to a whole new place. Got to spend most of my time in Virginia, specifically Norfolk. Hell, I think we were in the same house for like 10 years. So that was nice. It is funny though, moving to an area like this from Norfolk. The way my dad made it sound is that it was like a one stoplight town, just so small. There was nothing here. And it's even funnier because I now live in Calhoun, which is literally a one stoplight town. And there's really not much to do there. But I think this would be a good place to retire to and possibly raise a family in. But hell, even if living here, I want to go to a big city like Nashville or Louisville. They're only about, I think, like hour and a half to Louisville and maybe 2.5 hours to Nashville. So it's not like it's that bad. I mean, you can make a day trip of it. It's not like living literally in the middle of nowhere where you've got, a full day's drive just about to get anywhere. Not that I actually think there are too many places like that in this country. Hell, as much as we joke about it taking forever to get through Texas, I can do that in 12, 15 hours going across the state. I don't know, maybe I'm just not cut out for the whole big city living. You just get so many more headaches and so much more impersonal living in places like that. People don't seem to know each other all that well, and I'm not saying that like your neighborhood, or if you live in a skyrise, those people don't know each other. But like down here, hell, my parents have had the same insurance agent probably 20 years. So when I started driving, she was my insurance agent because, on your parents' insurance. Had her until I moved up to Denver. And I was gone for about 10 years. I think it was just over 9 years, maybe 9.5. But regardless, I moved back here, walk into her office. She knew exactly who I was. Asked how my family was doing, how my parents were, if they still had their car. I don't think you get a lot of that in the bigger cities. At least I hadn't experienced it in like Denver or Albuquerque. Although, again, the downfall of living in a small city like I do is there's not much there. There's no delivery services. So like during this whole pandemic, there's been no, order your groceries online and we'll deliver it to your doorstep, or order food and we'll drop it off at your doorstep. No, none of that. I still had to drive all the way into town. Now, I could have ordered it and then had it been able to pick up at the store. but you don't get the convenience of never having to leave your home. But it's just interesting to see the differences in life between a city and a small town. I mean, there's some people that it makes sense, like if you have a lot of medical needs and have to be close to hospital and everything else, then okay, yeah, I completely understand it. I kind of wish more people would live in the small cities, get out of these huge concrete jungles. But that's enough rambling for one day. I'm going to go ahead and call it here. You know what to do with all the buttons on YouTube by now. Unless you are a brand new user, I'm sure you can figure it out. But I'll catch you lot in the next one. Till then, later.